Welcome to the Modest Sports Show, home of your Modest Sports takes. Today is the pilot episode of this show. I'm ecstatic about doing it. I'm happy. Uh, this is my passion, man. I love talking football. And so we will be doing a lot of that on this show. We will be covering a lot of college football. Right now we're in season. I'm starting this a little later than I would have liked to, but that's life. But we're here now and we're ready to get it started. So we're gonna dive right into this thing, man. This past weekend there were a lot of great games. We had Oregon versus Utah. We had Penn State and Indiana, Wake Forest and Florida State, right? Man, Kentucky and Tennessee, Georgia and Florida. We had a lot of great games. A lot of great games. But I'm only one person. I can only watch so many games. So I chose a couple. I'll be doing that each weekend and giving game previews on some Sundays. So, for starters, let's dive right into this Oregon and Utah game. So, Oregon and Utah, I think that it was thought that this was going to be two juggernauts playing in the Pac-12, right? We expected a lot out of this game. I believe we also expected it to be a little bit more evenly matched. Final score to that game being 35-6 in Oregon's favor, right? A lot of takeaways from that game. I think that Oregon asserted and established dominance within the Pac-12 minus the Washington game. I know Washington, they were on the road, didn't quite get what they expected out of that, but still only a 4-point loss versus Utah being, like, again, the top of the Pac-12 and them coming in and just 29-point destruction, right? So when we look at that game and when we look at what Oregon was able to do, like I said, I think they kind of went on the road into Salt Lake City and just showed why they might just be the best team in college football, minus again Washington. And I also have thoughts on that. I think if Oregon is able to win out and get Washington again in the Pac-12 Conference Championship, mark my words, I say they beat them. I think that's how good this Oregon team is, man. I really do. I feel like Dan Lannon has taken his time, kind of hand-selected guys out the portal, and been able to compose a fully well-rounded team. Right? I'm really high on Oregon. But anyways, like I said, final score to that game, Oregon 35, Utah 6. Utah was not able to really establish any type of rhythm in that game, right? Utah, they tried to establish a run game early. They were aggressive early, going for it on fourth down. But, they were stopped one time, one out of the three times they went for it on fourth. They were stopped in the fringe on fourth down. Following drive, Oregon has the ball and they fumble. Nice play made by, I believe, a defensive tackle or a nose kind of slanting or actually shedding the block, getting off. Bucky Irvin kind of had a zone read. He plants, defensive lineman comes in, destroys him, makes him cough it up, or actually destroys him in the process of hitting him, rips the ball out, and is able to get a turnover, right? And so giving that Oregon defense a short field to work with. But again, right, credit and kudos to Oregon's defense, they only allowed a field goal on that following drive. So this Oregon defense has shown that, hey, man, and I love that Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson, they made the comment yesterday during the broadcast that this Oregon defense is a lot, or what Dan Lannon is doing is kind of sculpting and molding this Oregon team to somewhat of a SEC school, right? You look at, picked up Bo Nix from Auburn, picked up Kyrie Jackson from Bama, Trayshawn Holden, a receiver, Kyrie being a DB, or corner, excuse me. And so when you look at, what Dan Lannon is trying to do, I think he's trying to kind of, bring the SEC to the Pac-12, even though they'll be dissolving after this year. But we'll see the dividends that it pays going into the Big Ten next season. Back to the game, though. Oregon's third drive. I kind of I put that in my game notes because it showed, I think Bo Nix on that drive, right, showed how efficient that he was in tempo. Again, I like what Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson made note of, just being that Bo Nix, he's very point guardish in how he distributes the ball and what he's capable of doing, manipulating the defense, and also making checks and audibles in his own offense. I believe that he's very efficient in the tempo. Something else I noted was if we go here and we look at Utah's time of possession being 31 minutes and 57 seconds, right? And only Oregon's time of possession was shorter than Utah's at 28 minutes and 3 seconds. Those tempos don't match well, right? And so when you have Utah sustaining drives for over half of the game, but only walking away with 6 points, it does your team a disservice. Now, I get it, garbage time later in the game, it's kind of like we're not trying to allow Oregon to get back, get the ball back on offense and score anymore, right? You want to stop the onslaught. But at the same time, right, early in the game, when you're trying to establish, when you're not really testing the defense and you're running it and trying to play action, right, the most success that we've seen Utah have, I would say, offensively in that game was at the end of the first half, right? When they go into the 2-minute offense and they're able to drive the ball, get it downfield. And again, only on that drive, I believe they were able to walk away with a field goal right before halftime, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, though. But my point is, you can't have the ball for that long and finish the game with 6 points. Much credit to Oregon's defense. Like I said, they played lights out. Tosh Lupoy, I'm very familiar with him and his Bama days and what he was able to do, and kind of how him, Kirby, some other defensive staff members were able to kind of build those dominant Bama teams. So very, very aware of Tosh Lupoy's presence on that Oregon defense. My first quarter analysis of that game was Oregon they played more dominant and more like they were a more seasoned team, right? So when we head into the second quarter, Utah throws a pick to start the second quarter. I believe Sayone Vaki, right? Guy, he's playing both ways, much like a Travis Hunter, except he is playing the safety position on defense, able to come on offense and play the running back, right? And if we pay attention, right, to the play that Barnes threw the pick on, they did that play a couple of times to beat USC. So essentially, Sayone Vaki, he exits the backfield, runs a little in breaking route, and on that pick, right, he doesn't run. It's like he goes out and then on a cut in, he doesn't go all the way back in, right? And he has a underneath defender just kind of sitting right there on that. And I felt like had he not stopped, it's an easy catch. You pick up a couple yards, you get hit, but you move on. Him and Barnes not being on the same page, he throws the pick, gives Oregon offense a short field to start the second quarter, and they score with ease, right? We come back out. Oregon forces a 3-and-out, kind of showing no production on Utah's behalf on offense, okay? I believe that over the course of that game, Utah, they had to work for everything. Now, in Utah's defense, when Oregon was given a shorter field, right, they went 3-and-out, I believe, 3 or more times. So it's kind of telling, right, that Utah lost that game on the strength of special teams and what the offense wasn't able to do, even on those longer drives, right, where they are having the ball for 31 minutes and 57 seconds of the game. Like, aside from that, Utah saw, like I said, they saw most of their success in their 2-minute drill going into halftime, right? They were able to actually move the ball, get the ball, space it out, and get into their red zone. Now, going into the third quarter, coming out of halftime, right, Oregon, they just started suffocating Utah's offense early in the third quarter, okay? And again, that that resulted in a 3-and-out with their third down efficiency over the course of the game being at 5 out of 15. Oregon's first drive of the third, they slowed it down. I noticed they tried to kind of like, okay, we got this large lead, now let's just try to manage the game, right? That's all it becomes at that point. Let's manage the game. Let's win the game. We're on the road. Let's win it. They score early in the third. And I noticed at that point after they score and Utah gets the ball back on returning or receiving it on special teams, they try to lateral the ball, right? Guy runs out in the end zone, throws it back, and he's able to pick up a large chunk of yards on that Utah sideline. And so they needed more of these kind of plays to kind of provide a spark, right? To try to get something going. And then once again, Utah throws a pick on their second drive after the half, right? Being one of those 2 interceptions thrown. And Oregon, they just, like I said, I think in the second half, Oregon, they really focused on slowing the ball down, especially in the third quarter. Very slow third quarter from both teams, and not intentionally by Utah. In the fourth quarter, again, Oregon just really managing the game. Utah, they forced a 3-and-out in Oregon territory, right? But I think the biggest play of that quarter, Oregon converted, and this was a pivotal point in the game. I think this was the backbreaker of the game, but Oregon converted on 3rd and 17 at the top of the fourth. And so it's plays like that just kind of destroy that team's hope. Oregon goes on the road. They get it done. They show that, hey, we just might be the best team, not only in the Pac-12, but in all of college football, right? Another juggernaut in Utah. They, like it was nothing. On the road. Oregon, they might be that team this year. But, moving on, let's check out this UCLA game. Colorado. Now, on to Colorado and UCLA, okay? Now, that game was very boring, to tell you the truth. I know Travis Hunter, he came up with the 2 interceptions over the course of that game. But aside from that, I believe that Colorado has the potential. They definitely have the potential to be a good team in years to come, a year or years to come, right? It's just all about the players and their ability to be consistent, right? I believe that Colorado, and I think that Joel Klatt has said this, but Colorado is consistently inconsistent, all right? And when you want to take that next step, right? And no one said, I believe that people kind of got caught up in the hype and thought that was going to happen year one. But to be successful in this landscape, it takes some time, at least a year, to kind of build and construct the principles of this new entity, right, that you are able to manipulate and do what you want to do. And so I think that they'll be successful. Who knows? Maybe next year. Like I said, maybe years to come. Anyhow, some of my takeaways from that game were just, I think the most obvious one being Colorado needs an offensive line. They have to be able to play a lot more together, and they also have to show a better job and ability to communicate, to kind of pick up some of those pressures and give Shedeur time to do what he does well, right? Because again, something that I noted in my game notes, Shedeur is very efficient with off-schedule plays. Okay, and I don't mean off-schedule as in he doesn't have time to literally throw the ball, right? When you give Shador time or windows to escape the pocket, right? Be it him showing mobility or be it him getting back and out the pocket and being able to make certain throws, right? I think he possesses a similar feature that Caleb Williams does, right? Able to extend plays, able to make throws downfield, on target, be able to hit guys in stride and score the football. But like last night, there's nothing anybody can do, right? As soon as he's catching the ball, he has guys in his face. Credit to UCLA's defense. Just again, talking with one of my colleagues last night, I thought that it was amazing, right? And I played football at the University of Kentucky. And I'm a natural defender, right? Like I play defense. I think it is amazing to see what UCLA's front seven were able to do. Like the way in which their defensive play caller kind of moved guys around, the pre-snap alignment, guys slipping here, finding creases, right? Like some of the calls were matches. They should have been matched. Everybody manned up on the offensive line. Others were, I think, just brilliant pre-snap alignment and making it hard and confusing on Colorado's offensive line to make those adjustments and to pick up the right guys, right? To give Shador the time to throw the ball. Just some of my first half game notes, right? I think that Colorado early in the game, right, they established rhythm. They were rolling. I know the score at the time wouldn't necessarily have been indicative of that because even their first field goal attempt, it really should have been blocked, right? That should have been blocked. It wasn't, but Mata, their kicker, was able to squeeze it in. But I do feel like they were establishing some rhythm. And like I said, Shador, he showed the ability to be very efficient with off-schedule plays. I think that UCLA's defense initially, right, were having some issues adjusting to Colorado's tempo. Colorado, much like the Oregons and the Ole Misses of the world, they go up tempo, right? So they get in the play, boom, let's go, right? But to Colorado, it can be to their detriment. We'll explain that a little bit later on why and how. Travis Hunter, he showed that, like, he is a scary athlete. He really is. He's a freakish athlete. At the same time, he is smart. Like, he is smart. The plays that he makes and how he's able to bait quarterbacks into trying to make throws that it looked like they can make, and that throw is there, that window is there, he's able to bait them. And he's a predator when it comes to that ball being in the air. He really is. I think UCLA made some big plays in the red zone, right? Very big plays in the red zone. If we look at Colorado's third down efficiency, right, 4 out of 15. 4 out of 15. And again, right, their time of possession, inverse to UCLA's, much lower, it being 26 minutes and 46 seconds. UCLA's being 33 minutes and 14 seconds. I just believe that Colorado their up tempo and their giddiness on offense, it does them a disadvantage. Because we're going on the field and we're going up tempo, we might build some rhythm early, but over the course of the game or over the course of certain drives, we kill ourselves with penalties, momentum killers, or guys dropping balls, guys not being on the same page with Shador, in spite of or all in conjunction with not having a good offensive line. So, what they say, pick a struggle. You gotta pick one. Anyhow, I think that early in the game, again, part of CU building that rallying early was due to them capitalizing on UCLA's mistakes. So, for instance, UCLA had a lot of penalties in this game, right? They had 9 penalties for 85 yards. Even though Colorado is the most penalized team in the country, UCLA out-penalized them in this game. And we saw early Colorado capitalizing on those penalties, right? I believe that Colorado they have to be more physically dominating in terms of defensively. And that's not to say they didn't play physically over the course of this game. I feel like they have to do more of a better job of inserting their will and imposing their will on their opponent, especially a team like UCLA, who we know, right? They're run first, they're run dominant, they're gonna try to get guys like 33, guys like 25 the ball, just run it. And those were some pretty good backs, some pretty tough backs. But to Colorado's benefit, right, able to punch the ball out on a couple of occasions, right? They fumbled the ball 2 times yesterday. UCLA did. Same back, number 33, fumbled twice, right? He wouldn't have touched the ball again for me. Not yesterday. But like I said, UCLA defense sending a lot of pressure, and they were disguising the blitzes very well, very well. I think a factor in that game was Colorado's special teams, right? Didn't really do a good job in giving their defense good field positioning. Things like that. I do not agree with Shiloh's targeting call. I don't. Although my preseason prediction for Colorado was in that 8-4 range, 7-5. I'm pretty good, at this stuff. I'm pretty good at what I do. That's why I do it. I hate to sound so cocky and so arrogant, but I mean, man, I just had to say that. But all in all, over the course of that Colorado game, I just feel like Colorado, they show, like they have every game this season, they show sparks. They can be great. They can have a team that goes or takes it to the next level. Can they do it consistently? That's the biggest question, right? They show sparks. They show like a little ounce of this, right? But can guys do it consistently? That's the biggest thing. Aside from that, again, got to protect Shedeur. Last night he took 7 sacks, 22 pressures, 17 hits. And your quarterback just can't be on the ground that much, man. Like, just cannot be on the ground that much. So, UCLA 28, Colorado 16. UCLA gets it done. I believe next week Colorado faces Oregon State, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, sir. Oregon State at home. And we will see just how good that game is going to be, right? Oregon State coming off a devastating loss to Arizona on the road. Oregon State supposedly supposed to be one of those top teams in the conference. Do they finish the season strong as a result of not going or not having the opportunity to go to the playoffs? Or do they say, man, it is what it is, man. Let's just go finish this season, and who knows, Colorado was able to squeeze out a win at home. But this has been another edition of the Modest Sports Show, home of your modest sports takes. We will continue to be running these, man, and I'll continue to refine my skills as a sports analyst and continue to do what I need to do, man, to give you all great content, to give you all a more insightful look, a modest look on what it is that the beautiful game of football provides for us. Like, comment, share, subscribe to my channel, and suggestions, right? Give me some of your thoughts on the upcoming games, maybe some things that you would like to see going forward. Let's cultivate a community of modest sports takes. So you all have a good one. Until next time.